Hi, this is Nick from NXT Plants. Today I'm going through some of my favorites from the last little while. I don't quite want to call it monthly favorites because I don't think I do it monthly. I try to do it more like every other month. But yeah, I'm going to go through some things that's been happening. I think I'm going to start off with one right in front of me. Here, I'm going to hold it up. Hopefully it focuses. Okay. This is an Anthurium Ace of Spades Tuzula Dark Form, crossed with a black velvet Eastern Panama, so an Antilochii. It's a really pretty hybrid, and on this leaf it has gone flat sinus and it has nice ripples on the edges. I'll insert some emergent pics when it's really severe red, but right now it's still quite pretty. Can I show the back of the leaf? Since I'm able to. Very pretty. And I mean, the reason it's on the list is because it's going flat sinus and it has the ripples, both which that common to get, so it's quite fun. I almost put another plant on the list, and that's one of the, another, again, an Ace of Spades crossed with this time a Cunuulens. It is also doing a flat sinus, but it could sick because its previous leaf is kind of messed up, whereas this one I know isn't. Its previous leaf was also trending flat sinus, so I'll be curious to see it when it fully hardens, if it does keep the wide, I know it's going to keep the wide, if it stays flat, or if it again pinches up like this. I find as they mature, they stop pinching up because the leaf gets enough weight to lay flat, and it forces the appearance much wider. Yeah, definitely gonna up pot this guy after this leaf hardens. I can't wait to give it a big pot and see it take off. And continuing on the hybrids, here's a different Ace Cunia. This one is my favorite out of the batch I got because of the color. This is the first leaf after fertilizing, and here's the second one. This leaf isn't quite hard yet, and it's already working on another leaf. And I did repot it quite recently. And it's already rooted like crazy. I think it's just such a pretty plant. I really like how velvety it is, and it's got really nice texture. It's fun. On the petioles, you're really starting to be able to see the shape of the Cunia petiole come through. Nowhere near as extreme of that ruffles, but you're starting to get the shape come through a little bit. And another thing this plant does that I quite like is it has very bright purple veins on the emergent. Obviously, it doesn't hold them. Here's this Ace of Spades X Cunuulens, and this was hybridized by Justin Joe. Again, this is I got 4 from this batch, and I feel like they're some of my favorite seedlings I've ever grown out. They've all been so pretty and such great growers. Well, I'm really a fan of anything Ace of Spades. I think I'm going to talk about 2 Ace of Spades hybrids in this video, and then I have an Ace of Spades on either side of me. Definitely some of my favorite plants. I guess since we're doing Cunuulens, here we've got this Cunuulens PM5 crossed with PM3. This is a different one than I've shown. This is probably going to be our keeper. It came out extra dark compared to the other seedlings we got. And it's been doing it from a very small size, so it's quite promising. Actually working on a new leaf too. Yeah, this guy is quite pretty. Reason we want the dark traits is for breeding, so we want to pass along, you know, the dark, because we're probably going to be hybridizing it with dark things. So when both parents are dark, it just makes odds of good seedlings look a little bit better. So this one will be really pretty to use in hybrids. Right off the top of my head, I definitely want to hybridize it with Eastern Dress. I can't wait to make that. Definitely very excited to make hybrids with this plant. One of the other plants that's one of the other Cunia seedlings that's one leaf ahead did throw caterpillar. Any time now, it'll start to become quite a little plant once it hits caterpillar and gets flowering size. I'll definitely be able to start doing things with it pretty soon. Next up, I'm going to quickly do this Voodoo Child. It's throwing a nice new leaf. You know, you got pretty ruffles. I think one of the most fun things about the Voodoo Child is that at this size is the sport variegation it does. I don't know how well it's going to show on camera, but there's a strip on the outside here and then a band through the middle on that side. That's always fun to see. It does pretty consistently do it, at least on this one. And again, I'm probably going to up pot it once it finishes hardening this leaf. It's starting to have quite a few roots poke out of the net pot, and I find that's a good time to up pot because I don't want to do too much root pruning on this one, and it's been in here a good while and it's got a good little root system, so I see no reason not to give it an up pot. All the plants I've been up potting recently from these black net pots have had the densest root systems. It's been pretty crazy. So interesting seeing how the root pruning and the sort of natural pruning that occurs when the roots try to leave substrate into the air, and seeing how it promotes the root branching to such an extent, you really just get like almost a solid root ball where the roots are just surrounded every little piece of substrate in quite a short amount of time. It's really nice for them, like a little plug and putting it in the bigger pot when the plants just take off like crazy. Next up is probably the update I'm the most excited about, and that's I mean, partially in this box here, partially right here. That's going to be this is the first DF hybrid I'm harvesting. Is a Carla Blackier crossed with the Nov DF. I'll insert a picture of the two of them. Yeah, this is my first hybrid with it that's worked out. I tried a couple other ones and just didn't have as much luck. Yeah, I have been harvesting the first berries from that cross, and I've got a few of the seeds in here. So right now I'm seeing roots on 3 of them, and it looks like 3 more that have germinated on top of that. I'm still harvesting cross, but it's fun to see that some are already growing. Before long they'll definitely have leaves, which is really exciting. I can't wait to see what these turn into. I'll try and hold it up. I don't want to tip it too much just because I don't want the seeds to roll out of their spots. I don't know if you'll be able to see them, but I started harvesting these on July 10th. You can see, I'll talk about that in a little bit. You can see it's still got a few berries on it. I'm filming this on the 18th. I'm harvesting for a little over a week and probably won't be too much longer. It looks like these last berries are, oh, one of them just came off. 2 of them just came off. Didn't see that. Glad I didn't miss that when moving it between the tent and here. I think for now that's it, because that would have been a shame to lose any of these. Definitely gonna be careful not to lose. So yeah, been harvesting, only a few left to go and then it'll be done. It wasn't the highest yield, unfortunately, but also pretty good for a DF hybrid, so can't really complain. But yeah, and I've already got, it's already holding another inflow. So there's a lot of exciting updates around this plant. First off, beautiful new leaf that is still soft, very pretty, obviously. Perfect black, beautiful. Just the leaf before that. You can see a pretty good size up. It also is giving an inflow. See that white thing poking up out of the petiole there? That's what that's the white space that the Carla is known for. Even at that size it has it. But yeah, very excited. That'll be the 3rd inflow, a nice new leaf, and I mean I'm definitely going to pollinate this inflow, so that'll be 3 in a row I think on this plant. And the reason I'm doing that is it's not showing really any signs of stress or anything, so I'm definitely comfortable putting a 3rd set of pollen. And I mean, I think part of that's going to be that this DF inflow is just not a very high yield, so I don't think too much of the plant's energy went into it. I selfed it, so this inflow, and which is another update because I did that this month, and it has definitely taken. The berries are starting to form, you can see them differentiating. So it's been a really exciting month for this plant, lots going on. I'm really glad I pulled it out for this video because it was dry and I completely missed that. So I guess the heat and all the work it's been doing, it went through the water a little bit faster. So I've noticed some of my plants in these little pots can drain them within the month, you know, three-ish weeks in. I'm due like next week to do the reservoir changes on these guys. Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at my calendar on the fridge that I have for watering. Yeah, due next week. Refill this. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye 2-3 weeks in. Like, it wasn't bone dry, it was just down to like a puddle at the bottom of the reservoir. And, you know, this substrate does hold a good amount of moisture, so it definitely would have been fine for the month. I'm just glad I caught it. And since it's growing so much, I did top it up with nutrient solution. Some of the other ones that when they run through, if they're not doing so much growth, it was just they were very hot or something, I will top them up with just filter water. Put this guy briefly in just because it's out here for decoration to cover the seedling trays over there. This is the Ace of Spades, one of my favorite. I throw it in here, put out this leaf. I'm also getting another leaf, so that's exciting. It's a little bit heavy and I don't think I'm gonna be able to show it all that well, but see another leaf in there. Yeah, I mean, it's in here for this leaf right here in the center. Definitely an outstanding plant. It's just crazy dark foliage, like unbelievable. I don't know if it's rooted on the front. Oh, can't see this little leaf. You can see just crazy roots on this thing. Yeah, that's probably it's growing so fast. Still no flower, but it's not that out of the ordinary with an Ace of Spades. This is the 2nd caterpillar leaf. The 3rd caterpillar leaf is on the way. I'm hopeful that means at some point soon we'll get a flower, and then I'll be able to start doing hybrids with this plant, which is very exciting. I crush a springtail. I can't focus. Well, next up is going to be this Probably honorable mention because I'm going to title it something about Anthurium. It's mostly an Anthurium video. Got the Kunzo White Monster. It's a very pretty, minty, large form Monstera deliciosa. I'm putting it in here because I got my first fenestrations. I'm going to be so excited because this plant will get huge. And I just love the, the big fenestrated leaves with the minty foliage that this plant gets. I'm going to tilt it up. Definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite, non-Anthurium. I always love the Monstera deliciosa, and this is, I think, my favorite version of it. It was a pretty recent repot, and it had a couple big roots out into the reservoir. I did chop those in order to, promote more root branching. Here's what remains of the leaf the cutting was grown from. So it's all on its own now. It's rooting down into the substrate like crazy. Expect it to pretty quickly take off in such a big pot, and this will be very exciting. Black, new leaf, another new leaf on the way. I talked about Ace of Spades too much in this video. I don't have anything more to add. Pretty. Yes, you know what, instead of doing a separate video on this, I'm probably just going to talk about it now because it went much faster than I was expecting. I think I've mentioned this before, but I got this Ace of Spades specifically because it didn't have black foliage. It was actually quite green, but I knew it came from a good source. So the purpose of getting it was to see how quickly it would darken up with fertilizer but still getting the high light. As you can see, first leaf in my care immediately went so dark, and now the second leaf, it isn't hardened yet. This is still an emergent leaf. It hasn't darkened up fully. You can see again, crazy dark. Next leaf is on the way. It has no more leaves that it came with. I removed them all. I'll do my best to insert some pictures so you can see just like how quickly it went from being pretty green to quite dark, if not black, when given like a full comprehensive fertilizer. And again, it's still in quite high light. I'd say it's probably about 120 ppfd. Not crazy low light. Before I get to the big two ones behind me, I was going to do them last. I was poking around my bins and I got one more plant that I wanted to add to the video. And I mean, that's just because it has this pretty emergent leaf. Okay, I'm gonna hope it focuses. See, here we have a Papillolamum RA6, so it's again Rorientalog number 6. That's a specific wild pap clone. So that just means this plant was sourced out of the wild by Rory. And then he has a whole number of them, so this was number 6, and that's just for differentiation purposes. It's not like a ranking or anything. Now this is it's a real pretty plant, and I've just got it here in aeroid mix in a little pot, and it's going crazy. So again, when it finishes this leaf, I'm probably going to give it an up pot. I'm, again, out of those square white pots. I swear every time I order another pack, I'm like, this will be the last pack I order. I'm just be moving things around. And then I always find myself like a few months later ordering another pack because somehow I figure out a way to fit more plants into the same space. Somehow. I think at a certain point my magic's going to run out, but until we get to that point, I'm probably going to get another pack of them so I can pot up cute little plants like this. Too many paps, but I love the paps. Plants like what Anthurium is there not to love? And they all do like their own unique thing. I think if you've fallen down the Anthurium rabbit hole, you get what I'm saying. If you haven't, you probably think they all look the same. But I think there's nothing quite like them. Next up, while we talk about, since we're already talking about Papillolamum, is this Papillolamum Voldemort X Self from Woohoo Tropicals. I mean, it's in this video because it grew this leaf this month. Is now going to be the mother plant to a pretty exciting hybrid potentially when it's when it shows signs of successful pollination. I'll probably talk about it. If you follow the Instagram, I think you know what it is. Posted it when I did it, but anyway, here is, I think right now, probably my favorite pap. Plant is growing so pretty. It's very phototropic. It faces towards the light. An exciting future hybrid is why it is one of my favorites right now. And I just sort of have it at the back center of the tent. And it just looks at me every time I look in the tent. I'm not complaining. Again, we can do a fun root check on this one. So I think it's pretty crazy. I don't know how well it's gonna show. Lots of roots at the bottom too. And it just keeps climbing its stem upward. I buried it pretty deep and it's just got another couple inches of stem now up above the surface. Apps adore this pap. Oh, looks like it's gonna start a new leaf soon and flower again. So it'll be exciting to do stuff with those too. Here we've got the Anthurium Hobgoblin. So this is a hybrid by Javani of Lux X Dress, crossed again with Dress. Beautiful, it's very dress heavy. I love about it. It's past the phase where it has a really really brilliant red emergent, but it still has quite a bit of color to it. And darkens down, you know, beautifully. And this isn't even a leaf in all its glory. All the previous leaves, obviously, except for this one, are many months old repotting. I am seeing springtails and it makes me freak out, but I just have to tell myself they're not spider mites, they're not spider mites, they're not spider mites, and I'm probably going to still spray it later. I've been so paranoid about spider mites recently. They popped up on a plant, you know, it's the time of year where the spider mites like to go crazy. So I'm back to doing like super duper regular pest treatments just because like anytime I go outside or bring groceries home or we have some like flowers and stuff on our patio, you know, there can be spider mites everywhere, especially on stuff coming from outside. This time of year, so I got to keep the plants nice and toxic to spider mites. So I've been staying on top of that, and thankfully nothing problematic has happened. Yeah. Here we've got the hobgoblin. A little bit of a slow plant, but I'm thinking I'm going to get a flower soon, potentially even on the next leaf. It is so swollen, like it looks like, I don't know if you have experience with growing the Anthurium, you know how you can see when the flower is in the spot and it just hasn't released yet? That's what it's looking like. And again, not a bad amount of roots. It's a much smaller, slower growing plant than some of these other ones, but definitely one that I really appreciate. And I just have this polyfill to keep it from rubbing on the edge of the pot. I didn't do that with the BVEP, and I've once again destroyed another leaf on that plant, which hurts. I really thought this leaf would be different, but I didn't pay attention, and one morning I came out and the leaf was like rubbing on the edge of the pot and the ground, and so it destroyed itself. But I had to make sure I didn't do it to this one. Okay, I think that just about does the video. Those were a bunch of my favorites from the last couple months. Really enjoyed getting to share them. I know it was a little bit repetitive with Ace of Spades. They've been doing the most, and the hybrids have been doing the most, so I had to show them. Couldn't resist. Anyways, thank you. I always appreciate you guys watching to the end, and if you haven't, please subscribe. Have a good one. Bye.